For anyone who cares to listen, it is impossible for Mazen Nnamdi Kanu to be scared of his video record being played in the courts that Nigerian government and the Defense Council presented a video clip of where Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was calling for the defense of his people. Is self-determination a crime? Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was calling for the defense of his people because of the failure of the Nigerian government to protect her entire populace. The entire population of the country is in a state of vulnerability, exposed to all manner of danger, assault, invasions. You can imagine the army chief telling us that those killing within the Nigerian territory are invaders, they are foreigners. Foreigners came all the way from Sahel, come to your own territory, beat your security intelligence, beat the military intelligence, outsmarted all the military architecture and security formations, and begin to unleash mayhem on your own population. And unfortunately, within the Nigerian territorial space, you could not apprehend them. What does that mean? A total collapse of the entire system. Now, someone who have seen the failure of the Nigerian government to protect not just his own people, but the entirety of the ethnic nationalities within the Nigerian confinement, now called for a self-determination that people should rise up and defend for their own life by setting up Eastern Security Network. And someone is bold to say that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is scared that his own video calling for the defense of his own people against the invaders, just as what is currently happening today. We've seen several videos, including the military personnel being held hostage by the ISWAP, Islamic State of West African Province terrorists, a world-acclaimed terrorist within the Nigerian geographical space. Beheaded them. The same FG who is presenting the video clip of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu in the courts as an evidence that is calling for self-defense has become helpless in the face of this ever-increasing and escalation of killings, including the military. But now they are taking the battle, the onslaught to the military bases, the military camps, dislodging them and unleashing unimaginable mayhem, cutting away with the ammunitions and armories. Of course, of most recent, they attacked the Nigerian Defense Academy. You know what that means? The highest military formation. Very close. The proximity is not very close to Abuja. Kaduna was attacked and nothing happened under the watch of Buhari. And several cases, of course, is countless what is happening today. Several military bases, military formations have been overrun by the insurgents who have been sponsored by those within the corridor of power, has been alleged on several occasions. Even during Jonathan era, he said that the Boko Harams are in his cabinets. There have been several revelations and indictments, and yet the government of Nigeria cannot go after the culprits of those who has been named to have sponsored or sponsoring the terrorism. Now, somebody who called for the defense of his own people, you are playing the tape that he should be scared of you, that already have failed in defense of your own people. I saw some persons being kidnapped, young, vibrant Nigerians in the hands, at the mercy of the terrorist group, being kidnapped, and they are dealing with them mercilessly. The videos went viral, and they have not been rescued. Several occasions, look at Benue, look at Plateau, have been turned to a killing field. And someone who said that the rights of self-defense is an inalienable right, which was rightly quoted by even the Vice President, Shetima, in the recent concluded United Nations General Assembly that the right to self-determination is an inalienable right to any people or group of persons wants such, who wants to define their own political alignment and future. It is not a crime. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on several occasions has cited, quoted several laws, charters, UN, UA, African Union, and the rest of them. I mean, backing up his position, which is a well-protected right under the law, which Nigeria, by ratification, also assents to such charters or laws of bordering on fundamental human rights and the rest of them, and the right to self-determination. Now, how can on earth somebody imagine that kind of madness that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be scared of his video being played in the court? What sense does that make? What difference does that make? Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has remained unwavering. He has never changed his position. However odious and exacerbated any situation, he has learned to maintain his composure. He maintained his stance. He keep re-emphasizing what he stands for. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who has not taken arms against the Northerners, against the Southerners, against the Westerners, should be summoned for treasoning. And even the DSS witness could not establish any substantive claim or evidence against him. Not exhibit. You saw him with phone and laptop. Why people bearing AK-47, AK-49, killing across all regions of this country has not been arrested or summoned before the courts, any court in Nigeria? Tell me, where the group of Boko Haram, who are non-terrorists, who have unleashed mayhem, who have killed Nigerians, including military personnel, has been ambushed, has massacred, including the DSS personnel. Countless of them has fallen victim of this. Now, the people carrying AK-47, 49, killing, manning Nigerians are being considered as saints. You pardon, you claim you pardon them, you reintegrate them into the same military formation, security apparatus, dining and aligning with the terrorists to continue to unleash mayhem for very obvious reasons or personal reasons known to them. You know what you're doing is never done in history in any part of the world. There was no reference that any part of the country around the world, you arrest Boko Haram or terrorists, non-terrorists, you reintegrated them into your own security architecture and you think you can stand. That is a total collapse. And any country or government that indulges in that is a terrorist government. You recruit terrorists, you reintegrate them, telling them who has killed and murdered, destroyed the communal and societal, of course, have disrupted the societal arrangements and activities, killed and murdered, burned down red communities and the rest of them. When you arrest them, you said you are rehabilitating them, you are integrating them into the society, into the same military security formations to guide who? To protect you. No wonder the escalation of terrorism, insecurity is ever increasing in Nigeria. And for any government that failed to protect her own people or population is a failed state, because the primary responsibility of any government is to protect life and property of her citizens. The welfare of the citizens and the life and preservation of the citizens must be the priority of any government. Now, any government that have lost or have failed in this primary responsibility is no longer a government. It's a state of anarchy. There is breakdown of law and order. Of what essence is the country that cannot guarantee the safety of her own citizens? Of what essence is that government that cannot guarantee the security of her own citizens? Now, somebody who have seen the failure of the government of Nigeria to protect even his own people have said, we have the right. We invoke, of course, the order of necessity for self-determination. We cannot watch our own generation and posterity being exterminated We must rise to defend ourselves. Mazin Nnamdi has not made any different statement from what the DSS boss made recently. Perhaps what may have prompted the DSS boss to come out without any fear of favor to say communities should no longer continue to wait for the DSS, the military, the police to guide them. They should mobilize themselves and protect themselves. They should fight to defend themselves. That is what, in clear terms, fight to defend them. If you want to live, then you must fight to kill the terrorists, the enemies who are coming to kill you. But Mazin Nnamdi Kanu said was very understanding in his position. He said, we are defending our people from being killed. We are repelling the enemies who are coming to kill us. And if they are coming to kill us, of course, we will defend ourselves. You know what that means? If it means standing to defend ourselves by repelling or killing the people who want to kill us, it is not a crime. Just as the DSS boss also reiterated, he made his position, he gave instances, he cited the scenario of what played out in one of the northern communities, and that is well clear for everyone to understand. So what is wrong about the position of Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, his positioning SARS? Who are those who killed and massacred Nigerians, citing or reciting national anthems and were soaked in their own pool of blood? Is Mazin Nnamdi Kanu responsible for the massacre? That is quite unfortunate. Why in this part of the world we are so cruel, we are so shameless, we are so irresponsible to understand that we owe a duty to humanity, to do what is just and right. They are playing his video and some person says he's scared. Scared of what? He have told you it is his right to self-defense, to self-determination, that he has the right to call for Biafra restoration, and you cannot do anything about that. You can go to blazes if you care. The rule has not been changed, unless it is being stripped off. It is no longer contained in international laws. It's no longer part of fundamental human rights, that the right to self-determination, which is an inalienable right given to men by God, can no longer be invoked or reenacted. If it has been abolished, you told us which law, which, of course, reference, or which convention that nullified that. There's no longer, people has no longer right to self-determination, to self-expression and preservation. I think at this time, anyone trying Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, the continued trial of Mazin Nnamdi Kanu should be considered as an act of terrorism, as Mazin Nnamdi Kanu have clearly, of course, stated that any court under the Nigerian legal jurisprudence trying him or subjecting him to any form of trial or scrutiny is considered to be a terrorist. Because when you see those unleashing mayhem, the main terrorists are being celebrated, are being condoled, are being pampered. Why somebody who is saying, no, we must have regard to fundamental human rights, the sanctity of human life must be respected. The killings and the raidings, the invasions, the massacre, including children, is a war crime. We are not at war, as they say, but in real terms, Nigeria has the highest concentration of internally displaced persons, which has never happened in any country where there is no full conventional war. External aggression. Tell me any country, including Ukraine and Russia, that are at war, they have never recorded such level of internally displaced persons, that people could no longer go sleep in their homes, people could no longer go to farm, people could no longer, move around. The freedom of movement has been usurped. You see people even on their journey to their destinations are being rounded up by the terrorists, taken to the bush and being mercilessly dealt with, sexually harassed, extorted. Some lose their life even after paying ransom. The government has not gone after those who are perpetrating such heinous crime. They don't consider them as terrorists. They may shield them and defend them, integrate them into the Nigerian state security. I want people to believe that you are serious. Unfortunately, some people are stepping and enjoying the waste of blood and life in Nigeria. So anyone who is calling for the continued arrest or prosecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should examine his mental state. You should examine, you have not fought those who are destroying Nigeria, who are unleashing mayhem across different regions. Have you heard that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or IPOB has gone to the north to unleash mayhem? Now we have Lakuwara, we have Mahmuda, we have all sorts of terror cells springing up, unleashing mayhem on the indigenous people, on the entire region of this country, and nobody is calling them out. You're only interested in nailing and making sure you silence and suppress a voice that is speaking for the voiceless, speaking for justice, equity, and fairness. That everybody has the right to live, nobody has the right to take another person's life. We've seen it on several occasions helplessly. The Nigerian government, Nigerian military, unfortunately, they are crying out. We've seen several military personnel who are crying out. They are helpless. Rather than facing the real problem, you want to distract yourself. Fighting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, you are playing audio video. What sense does that make? How many videos of Boko Haram executing Nigerians have you reviewed? Have you been able to track the source and where it is coming from? And carry out tactical oppressions to silence those people. Unfortunately, you are helpless before them, and they continue to kill and massacre, giving Nigerian government ultimatum to vacate the entire northern hemisphere, that they are coming for the Nigerian government and the military. And they are not missing words. They are heavily unleashing, reinforcing themselves, unleashing mayhem, expanding their tentacles and frontiers across the entire regions. But the political elites are living in denial because they have so many money to chew and they are distracted. Unfortunately, the economy is being battered. The World Bank projection is something to be worried about. Honestly, it's a very disturbing development. Rather than apologizing to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who was renditioned, which is a breach of his fundamental right of movement and right of freedom. Being a British citizen, unfortunately, with the conspiracy of the British government, he was renditioned back to Nigeria, and ever since, British has remained silent because of the porridge of yam, what they can get. They have sold their conscience, their birthright. Being a British citizen is just like a tissue paper. You go to toilet and flush it. It doesn't make any sense because they have destroyed their own reputations by ignoring and not forging ahead or fronting themselves to defend their citizens who was rendition, whose fundamental right was breached because of what they are gaining. It is very clear that the Western world never meant well for Africa. And it's high time Africans must rise. But unfortunately, we have puppets, Western puppets, who continue to sabotage and betray the cause of African development and growth. It is quite unfortunate. They claim that there is growth in development and economy. Where do you see the growth? Okay, of course, growth in killing and massacring of people, invasion, and it is very alarming and unfortunate. Where do we go from here? Well, let's have your own take regarding this development and what you believe is the way forward. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have expressed himself, and which, of course, I agree with him. The right to defend these people, of course, he is not the first or the last one person saying it. Of recent, a high-profile personality, the DSS boss, has called on Nigerians to wake up and defend themselves. That don't expect the military, the police, the DSS to defend you because they are helpless. They have been overwhelmed. They can't cover the entire Nigerian, of course, terrain that has been, of course, almost been taken over by the invaders, terrorists. Can you tell me that foreigners, aliens, can invade America, can invade Ghana, and yet they are not being apprehended on several occasions, repeatedly killing Ghanaian citizens, and the government is helpless about that? The former general who fought against the Biafran, who massacred the Biafrans in defense of one Nigeria, today is crying out that his own people who have been massacred, butchered in their homes, in their farmlands, should take up arms and defend themselves, that the Nigerian government has no any intention of fighting for them or for their defense. This is the man, T.Y. Danjuma. General T.Y. Danjuma is calling up for his own people to defend their own lives. Of course, Gowon is helpless. He might have been saturated by good guilty conscience because this is the Nigeria he fought for. Unfortunately, it's happening to him and his own people. Look at the Benue and all the warlords from this Middle Belt who fought against their own brothers, Christian brothers and the rest of them today. What is their paycheck? They are running from their homes. They are being killed in their own homes, ancestral homes, lands, and the rest of them. And as much as I don't support such massacre, such cruelty, and the rest of them. But if they have foreseen today, they wouldn't have acted in the way they acted. The way they beheaded the Igbos who escaped from the north, coming down to the east through Benue route, was killed. And women carrying their dead bodies of their husbands with beheaded, their head beheaded. Today, over 50 communities and more have fled their ancestral homes, overrun and taken over by the same Fulanis who they aligned with, conspired with to fight against the Biafrans, who were only asking for the common good of all. If we can't live together and move forward, if we can't cohabit, why not disintegrate? Why not invoke the doctrine of necessity, the self-determination, or self-defense? Today, it is starting at all as sundry that Nnamdi Kanu is indeed not just a prophet, but a man who, generation unborn, will study his such level of phenomenon, of course, and circumstances surrounding his personality. Let's have your own take on this development. Thanks for watching.